Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Maximizing the ROI of the Site Selection Process. I'm Neil Eisenberg, Vice President of Marketing with Business Facilities Magazine and Business Facilities LiveXchange. Before we get started, I'll cover a few housekeeping items. First, please note the control panel on your screen. This is where you can submit questions via the question box contained in that panel. You can send in questions at any time, and these will be addressed either during or at the conclusion of the presentation. Also, please note the orange arrow on the left side of your control panel. Clicking on that arrow will either expand or collapse the control panel, so please be sure the panel is expanded so you can access the question box. If at any time you experience a technical difficulty, please send a message to us via that question section. Now let's get right to the presentation. Excuse me. I'm sure you're all busy and have plenty to do, so I'm really going to try to keep this to under 30 minutes. And that really does go to the heart of what we're going to be discussing today. How to get the best return on your investment, whether it's your time, money, or both. So today we're going to be talking about how the Business Facilities LiveXchange event can help you maximize the ROI of your site selection process. We'll go over the typical steps in the site selection process, how we can maximize your ROI, the benefits of LiveXchange, who from your company should attend, what the qualification criteria is, and exactly how LiveXchange works and what you can expect when you're there. So everybody in this call is likely familiar with the site selection process, but just to set the table, here's a top-level overview, knowing that there's a lot of steps in between. Everything really starts with the needs assessment. What are you looking to do? Are you looking to expand your footprint, lower your costs, free up time, improve your efficiencies? From there, you do your location research and develop your initial shortlist. And then schedule your site visits. After your site visits, you may cancel some locations out, and then you develop your final shortlist. Once your final shortlist is developed, you do your due diligence, move on to the negotiation phase, and then make your final site selection decision. Overall, site selection is very costly. It's a very time-consuming process between the initial needs assessment and the final site selection. Just look at the Amazon HQ2 search. That started in September 2017. And the final selection was made around 14 months later in November 2018. So understanding the needs of site selectors, 15 years ago, Business Facilities created our LiveXchange event to directly connect site selectors with economic development organizations and help narrow the site selection search. And where this really helps is in these two parts of the process. Now, I'm not saying that this going to LiveXchange is going to eliminate these two steps entirely, but you're going to get a great head start because you'll be able to do much deeper research than you're going to be able to get by going online or looking at magazines. The location research part of LiveXchange, which I'll get into a little later, is really the most beneficial aspect of the event. And then you're going to come away with a short list. You're going to meet locations that you may have already had in mind for your project. But you're also going to come away with locations that you never even would have considered. So we've already established that site selection process is costly and it's time consuming. That's really no surprise. So how does Business Facilities help? How does it maximize the ROI? So just to give a little overview, LiveXchange really is a one-of-a-kind event. It gives corporate site selectors and consultants the opportunity to learn about potential areas of interest and also get first-hand information from economic developers from across the U.S. And our goal with LiveXchange is to provide you with the strategic and the practical information that's going to help you make better, more informed site selection decisions. So how exactly do we do this? So let's go back and talk about return on investment again. And let's look at it in terms of both time and money. So everybody here knows how expensive it is to travel to different locations. And when you add in the cost of airfare, hotels, meals, and entertainment, this is a significant investment to make. So what LiveXchange does is we bring together more than 20 economic development organizations and major utilities from across the U.S. to one central location. And that gives you the opportunity to meet with as many agencies as you'd like and get as much information as you need without having to travel to different states to speak with the people that you really want to speak to. Everybody's there and they're all under one roof. Now, if you're like me, you've probably been to your fair share of industry conferences. And how many times have you gone to an event, a conference, a trade show, and spend a lot of money, and you realize while you're there, what's being presented or discussed is not 100% relevant to your needs. So that part of the equation really is removed at LiveXchange. So every attendee to LiveXchange receives a personalized itinerary that's created especially for them, and that helps to maximize your time and to ensure your productivity at the event, because your itinerary is going to be based on your specific requests and your specific requirements. You can only get so much information from doing your research online or going by what you already know. The face-to-face component of meeting with the economic development agencies at LiveXchange really is invaluable in terms of getting the information you really need to get and move on to the next phase of your location search. Now, there is a very big time commitment. I'm not going to say there's not. The conference starts Sunday night and it ends Monday afternoon around 12:30. So there is a time commitment, but there's no wasted time. We build your schedule, which again, I'll get into in a little bit, but we build your schedule in a way that your time is used in the most valuable way possible. And we also give you free time because we understand that you are away from the office. So that is kept in mind when the schedule is built. So in addition to saving the time, we also save you money. And that's because there's no cost to attend LiveXchange. We pay for 2 nights hotel stay at the Worthington Renaissance in Fort Worth. That includes access to all conference sessions, all meals, and networking events. So before I go forward, I've given you a taste of what LiveXchange is, but I think it's just as important for everybody to understand what LiveXchange isn't. So most people on this call have probably been in this situation. Have you been to a trade show where there's a lot of people and there's a lot of exhibitors, and it's really hard to have any meaningful conversations when you're in this kind of an environment? LiveXchange is not a trade show. There's no exhibit halls. There's no demonstrations. And that's because site selection discussions, they require a much more deeper conversation than you can get at a trade show. So every year, LiveXchange takes place at a high-end facility, and that allows our attendees to go into these meetings in a much more business-like setting. LiveXchange is also not a timeshare meeting. You're not required to listen to presentations or lectures in exchange for your free participation. You may have been to a resort where you're asked to attend the meeting and you'll get a free dinner, tickets to a show, or any number of things in exchange for listening in. But then you have to deal with the follow-up pressure of somebody trying to get you to buy a timeshare or buy something. That doesn't happen at LiveXchange. So the best way for you to probably think about LiveXchange, think of it as business speed dating. So instead of traveling the country to learn the benefits that different locations can offer your company, you're going to learn about different cities, states, regions, utilities. You're going to learn what they're all about because they're all going to be under one roof. So you don't have the travel costs associated. You don't have the entertainment costs associated with this part of the site selection process. So just to illustrate that in this picture, you have a gentleman here meeting with some representatives from Madison, Wisconsin. So he will have a 30-minute meeting with these representatives. Once this is over, he may go to Louisiana, which is sitting right behind him, or he may be on a break, or he may go to a conference session. As I mentioned before, the itineraries are personalized. So no two people are going to have the same experience and same schedule at LiveXchange, but everybody's going to have time that is well spent and based on the preferences that you indicate during the matchmaking process. So you have the broad overview of what LiveXchange is now. So I think the next logical question is this for me? So who attends LiveXchange? It's representatives from companies that are looking to expand or relocate. So whether it's just an expansion of their footprint, lower their costs, improve their efficiencies, those are the kind of companies who come to LiveXchange. And our attendees, which we call delegates, they're company executives, and they're part of the decision-making team. So it can come from the very top level, the C-level executive, the CEO, the president. Could be a corporate real estate manager. It could be someone who is solely responsible for tax and incentives. Or it could be a consultant who's representing a client on a project. As long as the attendee is part of the decision-making team for the site selection decisions, they would be appropriate for LiveXchange. And just to give you a sense of who comes to LiveXchange, previous attendees have included Fortune 500 representatives. We have large and mid-sized growth companies, national real estate advisors, and site consultants. There's no one-size-fits-all as far as who the attendee is. It's based on the qualification criteria. So because LiveXchange is an invitation-only event, Only qualified executives or consultants with active projects or ongoing expansion and relocation projects are approved to attend. And there is an application on the LiveXchange website that you would need to fill out in order to secure an application. And there's two components of this. There are the company representatives who are working for a company that is currently looking to expand or relocate, or a company that has ongoing projects. So for delegates that are currently conducting or about to start a project, these are the criteria that need to be met. So there needs to be a plan in place to make a final decision, a final site location decision within the next 3 years, and that the project you're coming to LiveXchange to represent is going to result in 25 full-time jobs, or $1 million in payroll, or $2 million in capital investment. Now, we know that not every company has projects happening at the time of LiveXchange. So we also accept representatives from companies that have ongoing site selection projects. And for those, we look for companies, or we look for representatives that have a proven track record of completed projects in their portfolio. We ask the average number of projects that are worked on annually by region. And for the most recent project, what was the capital investment? What was the payroll? How many jobs were created? LiveXchange is all about projects. So this is what we're most interested in, whether you are coming for a project that is happening right now or is about to start, or you work for a company that has projects that happen throughout the year. So let's get into the details on exactly what you can expect if you attend LiveXchange and how this ties into the return on investment that I've been talking about. So as I mentioned, everybody who attends LiveXchange gets a personalized itinerary. This really is your blueprint, and this is what you're going to follow throughout your LiveXchange stay. And the itineraries consist of individual one-on-one meetings, educational sessions, and networking events. And we send these itineraries out 1 week in advance, and this allows everybody to have adequate time to prepare for their meetings in advance. So just to give an example, one itinerary, person A may have an itinerary that has 3 one-on-one meetings back-to-back, then a break, then a conference session, then a few more meetings. Person B may have 2 meetings, and then 2 breaks, and then a conference session, and then lunch. It really all depends. The point is everybody has an individual itinerary that is really driven by their requests. And we also do build in time for breaks to allow catching up on work because you are out of the office, or to network with other attendees. So at the core of LiveXchange are the one-on-one meetings, and these take place between approved delegates and representatives from the economic development agencies from across North America. And we really do structure these to allow you to drive the conversation. The delegates drive the conversations. The economic development agencies, they're there to answer your questions. So the conversation is driven by you based on your specific needs for your specific projects. And these really are it's your opportunity to learn more about the location that you might be considering. And just as importantly, it's your opportunity to find new locations that you may never have considered before, but may be just as valuable in the long run. So the economic development agencies in attendance, they specialize in working with companies across a wide range of industry sectors: manufacturing, technology, transportation, logistics, food service. Now, it's important. Why this is important is that these location sponsors have the tools at their disposal to help you based on concrete examples of how they work with other companies in your industry. So, for example, if you're an energy company, we have an agency on board. They have the largest solar facility in North America. If you're a logistics facility, we have an economic development agency who's coming to LiveXchange that can give you specific examples of how they've worked with one of the largest freight companies to lower their costs. So again, another real benefit of LiveXchange is your opportunity to listen and to learn and discuss what you need with the right people who are going to give you the right answers to the questions that you need answered. So just to give a sense of how these meetings are arranged, before the event, every approved delegate is going to have an opportunity to choose which location in priority order they'd like to meet with on site. And again, this ensures that your time is spent in the most effective manner possible. At the same time, the economic development agencies are going to be looking at the profiles of all the delegates, and they're going to see who they want to meet with. Once all the selections are made on both sides, we have a matchmaking system that creates a personalized itinerary, and each attendee is going to follow that throughout the course of the event. All meetings are private, and all meetings are 30 minutes in length. and attendees can expect to participate in approximately 10 to 12 one-on-one meetings over the course of the event. Now, this brings up another point. If you are coming to LiveXchange and you are thinking of expanding or relocating into one state, Texas, for example, this probably isn't the right venue for you because, again, LiveXchange has economic development agency representatives from all across North America. So the expectation is that you will meet with a variety of locations and not just be locked into only meeting with representatives from one state. So we have three representatives from Texas who are attending LiveXchange, but then we also have Louisiana, we have Arizona, which I'll get to on the next page. But that is a very important point for everyone to understand, is that this really is for you to meet with as many people as possible. So here's an overview of the cities, the states, the regions, the utilities that are going to be represented at this year's LiveXchange. And you can go on the LiveXchange website and find details on the specific agencies that are represented within each region and within each state. So I really don't want to skip over this because, as I mentioned before, you can see the variety of agencies that are represented. You know, we have the Northeast, Rochester, New Hampshire. We go, Southwest Fort Worth, Texas. We also have Louisiana. We have Churchill, Nevada. So the agencies span the U.S., so you're going to get a great amount of information in a relatively short amount of time. Excuse me. So I mentioned earlier, we're cognizant of the fact that nobody wants to spend their entire day in meetings. So we break up your LiveXchange itinerary with an executive conference program and with meals to give you some time to breathe in between your meetings. So our executive conference program is going to give you practical and strategic information that's relative to your job as a site selector. And we also have a keynote that will always kick off the presentation, kick off the event. So our keynote this year is Jack Shaw. Jack is a technology futurist, so he's going to be looking at the industries that are undergoing digital transformation. And he's also going to give his strategy on how you maximize emerging technologies like 3D printing, Internet of Things, and blockchain. Then our executive conference program also goes deeper into site selection and economic development. So Glenn Weisbrod will be speaking about predictive scenario analytics. We are going to have a discussion led by Aaron Brossois, who will focus on artificial intelligence and virtual reality and how those technologies are being used in the site selection process. And Aaliyah Newbold from Ryan, she's going to go over the best practices for attracting new projects through the new opportunity zones that were created as a result of the recent tax law. So networking is another very important part of LiveXchange. So every year we put together off-site networking events that are indigenous to the host city. And these off-site events take place at the conclusion of the event on Tuesday afternoon. These are optional events, obviously. So this year you can see the top two pictures. We're doing trail riding across the Benbrook River or around the Benbrook River. We're also doing a tour of the Fort Worth stockyards. Our attendees really enjoy these tours. It gives everyone an opportunity to experience the local flavor of the city. It's really a great way to relax and network with other attendees. And then in addition to these off-site events, we have nightly cocktail receptions, we have lunches, dinners. So you're going to meet everybody at LiveXchange. It is a much more intimate setting than a trade show. So you're going to have an opportunity to mingle with everybody, and it's a great way to make new contacts. So I think a reasonable question to ask is, have any projects come out of these LiveXchange meetings? So just a few years ago, we had a delegate who attended LiveXchange. He came with a specific project in hand. Now, he didn't have the location that he was interested in. He had a project. He was shopping around for locations. He wanted to see what was the best fit for him. One of the economic development agencies on hand was Tex America Center, and they're going to be there this year as well. They had their 30-minute one-on-one meeting, and once they found common ground and realized that they were a good fit for each other, the delegate followed up with a site visit, went through the traditional negotiation process, and then a deal was finalized. So the direct result of this meeting with Tex America Center and one of our delegates was a $20 million facility that's being built at the location. So these are real meetings that can have real results and create jobs and create investment for the community. So Before we wrap up, and if anybody on this webinar is interested in applying to attend this year's event, which again takes place April 7th through 9th in Fort Worth, go to the LiveXchange website, and there is an application that needs to be completed. And the application is going to ask details about your projects and your activity. We very much understand confidentiality. We respect the process. So all information in these applications will not be shared with anybody. The only time it will be shared is when it comes time for the matchmaking process and the economic development agencies want to determine who they want to meet with. They're going to look at your project details. But again, you do not need to list, if you're a consultant, you do not need to list a specific company that you're working with. We understand and want to make sure that everyone's comfortable that nothing is out there that you don't want to be out there. And we set a registration deadline for February 28th. Now, most conferences, you can register and attend the day of. You can just show up at the door, pay your money, and get in. But because LiveXchange is a little different than a typical conference, we cut off the process early because we really do need 3 to 4 weeks to go through the matchmaking process, to create everybody's itinerary. It's not as simple as just showing up and going to the conference. There are more steps involved. So we cut off the registration at the end of February. So to summarize, before we get to some questions, because some questions have come in, LiveXchange was designed to maximize the ROI of the site selection process by directly connecting site selectors with multiple economic development agencies from across the U.S. all under one roof. Again, just because we're taking place in Texas does not mean that you're only going to meet with Texas. You're going to meet with representatives from, I believe, 17 to 18 states. LiveXchange is free to attend. We'll cover the cost of your registration, all conference sessions, 2 nights hotel stay, all meals, all networking events, and we also provide a travel stipend to help offset your transportation costs. We provide a $400 stipend for travel. You may be asking, what's the catch? This may seem too good to be true, but simply put, there really is no catch. Attendees really only have one obligation, and that obligation is to follow the meeting itinerary the way it's laid out. So make sure you attend all your meetings, go to all your meals, your educational sessions, networking events. That's the only thing that is required of attendees. Our goal is really to make this a very productive 2 days, the most productive 2 days out of the office, and help narrow the site selection search. You know, we know that some industry conferences, they can cost as much as $1,500 to attend. I would argue, maybe I'm a little biased, but I would argue that you're going to get more practical and you're going to get more useful information from your LiveXchange participation because you're driving the content, you're driving the meetings, and you're driving the conversation as far as what's important to you. So I want to thank everybody for listening. We do have a few questions that have come in, so I will answer these. And if you have any questions along the way, you can still ask in the question box. So first question, how do you determine who is eligible to attend? So we review applications for LiveXchange on a case-by-case basis, and there's no priority given. Once you submit your application, we'll review it on our end, and we'll follow up with any questions. We'll do it back and forth if we have to, and then we'll inform you if the application was accepted. And again, it's all based on the criteria that was laid out earlier. Okay, next question. How is the event free? Okay, that's a great question. That's one that I hear very often. So the reason there's no cost to attend LiveXchange is because the economic development agencies, who are our sponsors, they're paying for the attendees to come to the event. It's called the hosted buyer event. And the reason why they're paying is because it's important for them to get in front of the decision makers and share the benefits of their location. And that's really why we're selective about who attends. We don't just let anybody in that submits an application. We review everything carefully because we want to make sure that the attendees who are coming have legitimate projects or work for companies that have ongoing projects. Next question. I cannot make the event, but I know somebody who might be interested. So yeah, we do have a referral program. So if you attend or if you don't attend, it's really open to both. If you attend and you know somebody from your company or you know a colleague who may be interested, we will incentivize you. We'll give you a $200 referral bonus for referring them to us. Now, the only thing is if the person works for the same company, we require that they have their own site selection projects and they take their own meetings. If you do not attend, that works as well, and you can refer somebody, and they're approved, if they're approved, then you will get your referral bonus once they attend LiveXchange and once they complete the program. Then we will mail out the referral bonus to you. There was a question that came up if we can send copies of the PowerPoint slides. Absolutely. I will send those out as soon as we are done here. And I believe we have one more question before we wrap up. That was about the registration deadline. And again, I'll just reiterate it is February 28th because that will give us time to go through the matchmaking process and take care of everything we need to do. So that looks to be about it. I want to thank you all for attending. I really do appreciate you taking the time today. I hope that this is of interest to you. I hope we may see you in Fort Worth. If you have any questions that I haven't answered or haven't been addressed that you think about after, my email address, my phone number are on the screen. Please feel free to reach out at any time, and I'll be happy to have a conversation with you and determine if this makes sense for you. So again, everyone, thanks for attending. I appreciate it, and have a good afternoon.